Arrivals by Cyril Hare. The detective sergeant's report was as follows. To the Chief Constable. Sir, on the night of the 10th inst. at 7:31 p.m, a telephone message was received at the station to the effect that a girl had been stabbed in Vicarage Lane, Didford Parva. The caller gave his name as John Dennison, already known to me as a youth living in Council Cottages, Newbury, and the subject of proceedings in the juvenile court at Markhampton for assault and larceny. File 892 of 1954 refers. I proceeded to the scene, arriving at 8:37 p.m, where I found the body of Christine Barking, aged 18, of Jubilee Terrace, Didford Parva. The medical report, herewith, shows that she had been killed by a stab wound between the shoulders, consistent with the use of a long-bladed knife. I was immediately joined by John Dennison, who approached from the direction of the telephone kiosk, distant approximately 150 yards. He was in a highly emotional state. He informed me that he had met the deceased by appointment that evening, with the intention of accompanying her to an old-time dance at the town hall. They were proceeding to the bus stop at the end of Vicarage Lane, with the intention of taking the 7:40 p.m. bus to the city, when a man, whom he could not distinguish in the darkness, sprang out from behind the bushes bordering the lane and struck the deceased from behind, and immediately ran away. Questioned further, Dennison volunteered the information that he believed the assailant to be Charles Packer, already known to me as a youth living at Riverside Lane, Didford Magna, and the subject of proceedings at the local assizes for malicious wounding. File 493 of 1954 refers. He stated that Packer had twice threatened him with bodily violence on account of his association with the deceased, who, I have reason to think, was a girl of bad character and flighty disposition. After making the necessary arrangements for the removal of the body, I invited Dennison to accompany me to the police station. Here I found Charles Packer, who was just completing a statement taken down by Detective Constable Kimber. On seeing one another, the two men assumed a fighting attitude, and it became necessary for their own protection to lock them in separate cells. From D.C. Kimber's report, herewith, it will be seen that Packer arrived at the police station at 7:40 p.m. From experiment, I have established that it is just possible to run from the scene of a crime to the station in 10 minutes 12 seconds. Packer's statement to the following effect. He had met the deceased by appointment that evening with the intention of accompanying her to Cairo Cinema, Markhampton. They were proceeding to the bus stop at the end of Vicarage Lane, but I need not continue, sir. As will be seen from a comparison of the two statements, they are to all intents identical. Packer expressed to D.C. Kimber his firm belief that Dennison, whom he stated had actually assaulted him on 3 occasions, was responsible for the murder. In these circumstances, I had both men carefully searched. On Dennison I found a handkerchief, soiled, a copy of the Markhampton Evening Record, a packet of cigarettes, a box of matches, a wallet containing £4, 3 shillings and 6pence, a pocket comb, and a sheath knife. He informed me that he carried the knife for protection, with particular reference to Packer. It bore the appearance of having been recently cleaned. His suit was of the teddy boy variety, and on the cuff of the right sleeve I discovered a smear of blood. He readily admitted that this in all probability came from the deceased, whom, he said, he had supported as she fell after the assault. On Packer I found a handkerchief, soiled, a lighter, 3 indecent photographs, herewith, a wallet containing £2, 10 shillings and 6pence halfpenny in cash, a pocket comb, and a belt with an empty sheath. Examination of his cell revealed a knife similar to that found on Dennison, hidden in a ventilator. After some difficulty, I induced him to agree that it was his property. He stated that he carried it for protection, with particular reference to Dennison. It also showed signs of having been cleaned, but further inspection revealed traces of blood. Blood stains were also discovered on the handkerchief. Packer explained these by saying that he was subject to nose-bleeding. So far as the blood on the knife was concerned, he said that he had cut his hand while cleaning it. There was, in fact, a recently healed cut on his right thumb. No blood was found on his clothing, which was of a similar type to Dennison's. Analysis in the police laboratory, report herewith, established that all the blood found was of Group O, which is the blood group to which the deceased belonged. It is also, unfortunately, the fact that Packer's blood is of the same group. Dennison, on examination, proved to be Group AB. On the morning of the 11th inst, I returned to Vicarage Lane and examined the ground. The lane being muddy, it was possible to distinguish the footprints of a man and a woman leading towards the scene of the crime. I also found the footprints of a man leading from the opposite end of the lane to a group of bushes at the same point, photos herewith. Here they became confused with those of the first pair and with those of myself and the other police officers. I secured the shoes worn by the deceased, and was satisfied that these fitted the female footprints referred to. I then obtained the shoes worn by each of the two men, and was immediately struck by the fact that they were in every respect similar, being new, yellow-brown leather brogues with crepe rubber soles and size 10. Inquiries revealed that they had been bought within a few days of each other at the same firm of outfitters in High Street, Markhampton. Both pairs were somewhat muddy, and, needless to say, each fitted perfectly both sets of footprints. Pursuing my investigations, I interviewed the mother and sister of the deceased. The former was unable to throw any light on her daughter's movements, but the latter told me that the deceased had been in the habit of going out with both young men indiscriminately, and that she had been threatened by each of them on account of her partiality for the other. She was unable to say with which of them her sister had intended to pass the evening in question, but she stated that she was deeply addicted to dancing and regularly attended dances at the town hall. She added that she was a fan of Dwight Bibble, whose new film, Passion in Paris, opened at the Cairo cinema on that day. Advert from the Evening Record refers. The inquiry now appears to be at a standstill. Both young men continue to assert the truth of their respective stories, and I am totally unable to determine which of them is lying. The possibility of further evidence coming to light seems to be remote, and while it is quite certain that one of the two is guilty of wilful murder, I must respectfully conclude that there is no prospect of making an arrest in this case. J.B. Porteous, Detective Sergeant. The Chief Constable read the report through twice. Then he wrote in the margin, "Arrest Dennison immediately. He is a bold liar, but he made one mistake. To confuse the evidence, he carefully made sure that his outfit matched Packer's exactly, right down to the pair of newly bought shoes. But that's the whole point. If Dennison was taking Christine to an old-time dance, what on earth was he doing in crepe rubber soles?"